Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this 2022 Roadmap panel. I'm Nicole McCarty, Marketing Manager here at COTI, and today we have joining us...
I'm Yair, I'm the Head of Business Development here at COTI.
Alex, I'm a Product Manager at COTI.
I'm Shachaf, I'm new here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the CEO for COTI. And thank you for being here, everybody, today.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to start this panel off by asking Shahaf a question. Would you mind discussing the vision for 2022?
Sure. I'll explain the vision with and how it's being introduced to the COTI 2022 roadmap, which is the reason we are having this panel here today. And this will be, but by the time you see this video, you can already see the graphics and figure out how things are built. But essentially, we are building from the ground up COTI this year, from being a network that is ruled by one coin to a network that has multiple tokens on top of it, introducing new types of services and use cases in our journey to become a fully encompassing financial system. Right? So COTI is the layer one for payments, so it means that by definition everything stems from a tech capability, and that tech capability is Trustchain, and specifically Multi-Dag 2.0 will be the pillar upon which everything is built this year. So this year we're introducing a technological breakthrough, a way to mint tokens on top of a DAG infrastructure, kind of like what ERC20 is for Ethereum, but on the Trustchain, and building on top of that. So when you look at a roadmap, you should see everything related to that. So essentially the multi-DAG, Foxnet, Testnet, Mainnet. Coin as a service is what stems from it, because once we have this tech capability, we can introduce that to enterprises around the world as a form of a service. And also COTI Pay business will have a new version that comes from it directly, because now we can introduce new types of tokens that can be used for payments. So this is one way to look at the roadmap and the vision. The second important thing is obviously Djed. This year will be the year of Djed, so you can see in the roadmap the testnet phase, then when it goes to mainnet, and from that point onwards, it's about adoption by the DeFi ecosystem, centralized exchanges, dApps, a lot of use cases for a stablecoin on top of Cardano, and liquidity as well. We are already in touch with some big powerhouses that want to pour a lot of liquidity to Djed, and we'll talk about Djed a bit more later, but the idea is that people will put ADA as collateral to get Djed and Shen, and we'll talk about this a bit more, but we already have a lot of interest around this. And lastly, it's the Treasury. So the Treasury is the way for participants in our network to get rewarded for the COTI native that they hold and stake and get rewards. So the Treasury will also be upgraded throughout the year, introducing new ideas, including a governance token, again based on Multi-Dag 2.0. So it all comes together, and this is why 2022 will be a very exciting year for COTI.
Awesome. And what can we expect to see this year as far as the Trustchain and the network infrastructure?
Great. So diving into this, and again, I would ask people to refer to the roadmap in terms of timeline. But last year we've released Trustchain 2.0, which is like our new version of our mainnet, more efficient, has higher scalability, and so on and so forth. We are now introducing a Multi-Dag 2.0 to work with it. So what you can see is that in April this year, so next month, We'll have a Foxnet. Foxnet is an early version of testnet, right? So that
staging area.
yeah, exactly. It's a staging area, or like a testnet for dev purposes. And testnet, if all goes well, towards the end of May, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're expecting. Once that is launched, and before the mainnet, we'll be introducing one of the most important articles or standards that we'll release, which is the new token standard. Again, think about Ethereum, and along came ERC20 tokens. Think of Trustchain. Through Multidag 2.0, we'll be introducing a new standard for tokens. We don't have a name yet. We're open for suggestions, but obviously we'll need to name that standard. And through this and through the white paper that will come with it, people will understand how to mint tokens on top of the Trustchain. Why this is big? Again, think of Ethereum without the tokens. Think of Cardano without native assets. Solana with the difference between
Any layer one needs its token standards to grow and become scalable.
Absolutely. So this is what we'll be introducing this year, and this is why we are excited. So as I mentioned, testnet towards the end of May. Once it's launched, the new token standard is defined, released to the general public. Q3 will come, and we'll be ready to launch Multidag 2.0 on mainnet. And this is a big event, because once this is live, we'll start issuing new tokens. And we have a plan of a few tokens that we want to launch. We have clients that want to launch tokens. So, everything from the governance token for COTI to the first enterprise token to a new stablecoin. Just wait and watch. Great. And another cool thing that will come with this is something that people have been expecting for quite a while, is a new version for the bridge and a new version for the Explorer. I don't want to say block Explorer because we don't have blocks on our network, but the new bridge and a new Explorer. And maybe, Alex, maybe it's a good time to segue to you, and maybe you can tell us more about the bridge and the Explorer.
Sure thing. So basically, as part of our efforts to develop the Multidag 2.0, we also decided to completely redesign our Trustchain Explorer and basically the bridge. So we've been listening to the community, and we understand the pain points, and we decided it's a good point to actually address those pain points to allow future scaling and taking into account the new currencies and new tokens that are going to be added to our network. So in terms of functionality, I guess I'll start with Explorer 2.0. Basically, Explorer 2.0 will allow to perform lookups based on transactions, addresses. We will provide information on our nodes, general statistics, and basically all the data that is related to the Trustchain. It will be more rich and transparent as it's accepted today in the industry in different networks. And we will obviously improve performance. The users will see a significant improvement in performance. In terms of the Bridge 2.0, basically the main thing there is that we are going to introduce new assets on top of our Trustchain that are going to be minted, natively. And also we will allow import of wrapped assets from the supported networks that we currently support. And based on our internal discussions, we plan to extend the list of those supported networks. And in addition, we will tackle...
Can I stop you? What are you actually saying? Are you saying that, let's say someone decides that they're going to do maybe a USDC version on top of native COTI?
Yeah.
Right? So they can, come in from Ethereum, port it at the bridge, and mint native COTI or Trustchain version of USDC.
Exactly. So, like from my perspective, Breach 2.0 is also a huge business enabler, right? Because like the use case you mentioned, right, you can have an asset that you wish to transfer to the trust chain, right? And it all comes together with COTI Pay Business that will be a payment gateway, and it will support multiple coins, right? So you might want to pay with a stable coin that was issued on top of the trust chain natively, or you might be able to transfer other assets to other networks that you acquired and use it as a payment method to pay for actual goods in the real world. So it's
Sounds
a
good.
huge business enablement.
I know the team is also working on maybe adding new ports to the bridge, so like supporting other networks on top of obviously Trustchain, Ethereum, and Binance Smart Chain. I know you guys are looking at adding a new network that we all know and love. So enough said.
So enough said, yeah, we won't disclose too much details, but yeah, so basically as part of the effort to completely redesign Breach 2.0, it will also enable us to easily, to integrate with new networks. We will not name them by name, but stay tuned.
Alex, one of the things that the community continuously mentions and rightfully so is that the bridge is technically unreliable in many aspects. It's now open on a daily basis. We don't have that issue, but technically it's not amazing. Can we expect improvements in that sense? Are you aware of all the known bugs and pesky issues? Plan on fixing that through the new version?
Sure, it's actually a really good question, and we can break down the basically the reliability of the bridge into two parts, right? So it's not always that the problem is on our side, right? As we connect to different networks and they operate and using different protocols, sometimes we are not the source of the issue. But as I previously mentioned, we are actually going to rebuild the entire architecture of the bridge, and we are going to improve it in terms of scale, performance, reliability. And one of the major features that we are going to provide in Bridge 2.0 is actually real-time monitoring from the source network to the destination network. So our users will be aware what is happening with their swap transactions. It will make it much more simpler for our support teams also to monitor and provide support. It will reduce the amount of work that our development teams will have to pay attention to those types of issues. So overall, it will be a huge win for both us internally at COTI and for our user base.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. I think a lot of people are happy about this.
Yeah, we are also really happy about this.
Well, it sounds like we can expect big things around the multi-DAG in Q2 and Q3.
Yeah.
Is fair to say?
Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting journey.
Awesome. Well, the multi-DAG infrastructure is a unique solution that allows us to offer our clients coin as a service solution. Shahaf, would you mind explaining what coin as a service is and what benefits it brings to the community?
Sure, I can. Well, first of all, coin as a service, think of software as a service where a tech company provides software. With what we do, obviously we allow enterprises, merchants, developers to mint tokens on top of multi-DAG, which is something that layer ones do. What is unique and why is this important? Well, to begin with, our infrastructure was built, our layer one is built to support payments on a huge scale. And I think everybody are aware that in the future, all currencies will be digitized. Doesn't mean that people will pay with Bitcoin. It just means that currencies will be digitized as a form to transfer value. Most blockchains, and I'm being polite here, are not fit for that. Scalability issues, or it's just complex to use in that sense, or costs, or anything that comes with that.
Confirmation times.
True, and also they don't have the right regulatory approach to deal with payments. So it's not just about technology, it's a lot about technology, but not just that. And also for major enterprises when they're looking at, hey, I want to digitize a currency, I want to open a network for to govern the relationship between my users and me. They realize that there's a lot of development that needs to be done. Right? You have the wallets, you have obviously the infrastructure, you have the gateways for payments, you have the licenses, you have fiat on-ramp, fiat off. Whoa, most of them don't want to do all of that, it's difficult enough as it is.
And we didn't mention even the interoperability with different networks and different standards.
Exactly. So it's for most of them, they are more accustomed to off-the-shelf products and so on. So Coin as a Service is the ability of an enterprise client to come along, mint a token on top of our network, get a ready-made ecosystem for that. Wallets, crypto gateways, on-ramp, off-ramp, cards if you want, bank account, everything out of the box. And with huge technological benefits. So very low cost, can work at a great scale and everything. So this is like the news. How it benefits our user base, well obviously, all of this comes with fees and network fees. That goes to the Treasury. Treasury goes back to users. It comes with specific fees, new fees that we can collect for the service. I've mentioned Coin as a Service. Those fees go to the Treasury, that goes back to the users. So this is how they are all rewarded. So again, looking at the roadmap, we need to have multi-DAC on mainnet. We need to have a new token standard, and then we're introducing Coin as a Service. We're getting ready now for the business aspects of everything. That's important to know. We are already working with design partners to make sure that what we build is very useful for them. So we already started working with design partners, already signing contracts. So when we are launching on mainnet, we're good to go. We're going to hit it running with enterprises. So that's the deal, and this is what you can expect.
So Testa, would you mind elaborating on what COTI Pay Business version 2 is going to look like?
Yeah, exactly. So COTI Pay Business version 2, it's an upgrade version of the one that we released earlier last year, which it was quite successful so far. In order to release COTI Pay Business version 2, we needed indeed the multi-DAC, which you already explained about, and the new Explorer and the new Bridge. For the people that just came after the COTI Pay Business was released, it's basically a product, it's one of the main products of COTI, that allows merchants, whether they are online websites or barber shops, supermarkets, meaning that are companies that are not related to the blockchain world, or also different protocols that are already in different layer ones, other protocols that want to come to the blockchain, to the Trustchain, which is the COTI native chain, to start accepting COTI native assets as a payment method. So this is very important because, as Shahaf mentioned, the Trustchain later this year, it will stop being a single token network, and we will have multiple tokens, whether they're issued by us, other protocols, or special clients that we're already starting to close a partnership with. So all of these tokens will be able to be used as a payment for different websites using COTI Pay Business version 2. So in terms of the business development side of things, we have already closed a couple of very big multinational companies. We are starting to close, and this Shahaf mentioned this very well, with a long time in advance, because it's a long process to integrate. Sometimes we need to design the tokens, the maximum supply, and etc. So we are starting to close the partnerships now. We have already started and closed a few very nice deals. And once the multi-DAC is ready later in Q3, so we will start releasing more information, and the tokens will be live, and the COTI Pay Business will start, version 2 will start, we will start seeing it in action. So this is a little bit more of it. Together with the COTI Pay Business, it's also very important, and just to connect it in the roadmap, then we have Coin as a Service, which is for the companies that want not only to start accepting COTI native assets as payments, but also to issue their own ecosystem with their own branded tokens, whether they are stable coins, loyalty tokens, or fan tokens. And they will start, those ecosystems will start accepting these branded tokens through Coin as a Service for payments as well.
Awesome. So we have Multi-DAG 2.0, COTI Pay Business version 2, and enterprise tokens all on the roadmap for 2022.
Yeah, actually in Q2, Q3, and Q4.
Wow. Sounds like we have our hands full this year.
Yeah.
And so now I want to talk about the Treasury. I myself got to work on the Treasury, and I'd like to say that we had a great success. Alex, I would like to get your opinion on how the Treasury launch went and what can we expect to see for the rest of the year with the Treasury?
Well, first of all, Nicole, it was a pleasure working with you on the Treasury. And in terms of the Treasury release, actually, I reviewed the numbers this morning, and we have more than 345 million COTI deposited at this point, and which is basically more than 30% of our circulating supply, which is really impressive. Additional figures that we see is that a lot of the stakers are actually staking their COTI for long-term, for long time periods of 120 days, and actually it's 76% out of the total deposit. They are currently locked for 120 days, which is really impressive, and to me it's a show of faith from our community to what we are doing. As a product manager, we always say if you released a product that you at least a little bit not ashamed of, you probably released too late. So we had some hiccups, as you probably know, but we have been gathering feedback from the community. We already addressed some UI-related issues that were reported to us, and we actually have a few features that will help our users to better manage and monitor their deposits on a daily basis to make their life easier. That was the main request from the community. And those features and enhancements are going to be rolled out at Q2. In terms of the future of the Treasury, right, so we seeing impressive numbers, right, but we are not planning to stop there. We are actually thinking about different financial models that will help our Treasury participants to actually earn more rewards by performing additional actions. So we are doing our research on that, so it's definitely something that is worth mentioning and waiting for. Yeah, so basically that's that.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Anything to add on the Treasury?
Well, I would add maybe two things. One is that, well, obviously as there will be more native assets on top of the Trustchain, COTI will not be the only form of deposit in the Treasury. So we may offer other types of deposits into the Treasury, and that brings the game to a whole new level.
Yeah.
The second thing worth mentioning is the governance token for the Treasury and the protocol there, which we plan on launching this year right after Multi-DAG 2.0 goes to mainnet. I think it's only symbolic that this will be the first token that is minted on top of the Trustchain. Again, don't have a name for that yet. Have ideas, but there will be a governance token for this Treasury, and that is a great improvement as well.
Awesome. And who is going to get the governance token? Can you walk us through what that looks like?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people are familiar with the whole notion of governance in terms of DeFi and protocols and all of that. And in many ways, this will not be different. So your active participation in the Treasury, meaning you deposit, you withdraw, I mean, your active participation will grant you some of these governance tokens, for sure. And for free as well. This will be a fair distribution. However, we've been thinking a lot, and I don't think that only financial participation in our network will grant you tokens, the governance tokens. I think any form of participation that is valuable for the holders of COTI should make you eligible for this governance token because you are part of this community. Now, you may not have a lot of resources for all sorts of reasons, but you are very active. I mean, maybe you write articles, maybe you help with other things in our network. And that is also important and beneficial, and you should be rewarded with governance tokens as well. Meaning, your ability to prove the positive effect that you have. Finance is one way, but there are other ways as well. So we are already closely looking at the actions that people do. Obviously with the Treasury, but also generally speaking, we're looking at all these actions. So they can be super beneficial, like running a node. They can be smaller things like liking a post, whatever. And when we'll distribute the governance token, we'll be looking at all this history and then distribute this governance token. With it, it will come with your ability to vote, actively participate in votes about all forms of decisions, to debate, to propose. You're active in that sense, and that will affect a lot of things. Like maybe it's maybe the deposit fees putting into a vote. Like what should it be 0.5, 0.7, 1%, nothing, whatever. Maybe that is being put to vote, and governance token holders can vote and decide on this. There will be other benefits that come with it as well. We're now looking at maybe to allow governance token holders to be liquidators and get some of it. So there'll be many benefits to holding this governance token. And as I've mentioned, if you are trying to plan right now what you should do in order to be eligible to as many governance tokens as you can in the future, you should probably ask yourself, what can I do that is beneficial
For the community.
for the community, for COTI holders, for the Treasury, and you're probably right. So do these actions now and be eligible later. It's not going to be, hey, we're taking a snapshot of this last week, and no.
It's going to be
We are already looking at things. So
It's going to be probably the most fair distribution.
yeah, exactly. And we're not going to sell this token that no VCs around it, nothing. It's like we did with COTI, a fair launch. Yeah, so that's the role of the governance token and the relation to the Treasury.
Awesome. And I know from the marketing perspective, we'll be sharing more information around the Treasury in the upcoming months, but what I do encourage the community to do is participate in the Treasury. That way you become eligible to receive the governance token when it is airdropped. So I think we saved the best for last. Djed. When Djed has been the #1 question from the marketing team. So Shahaf, can you give us some sort of timeline on Djed? I know we mentioned about security. Maybe walk us through what that looks like and where we stand today.
Sure. So in terms of timelines, I'll be brief. I'll answer all of that, but I think I will also do something that is pretty important to people, is to reiterate and explain Djed again, because I see a lot of confusion around it. In terms of timeline, it's pretty straightforward. Testnet is this quarter, mainnet is next quarter. In between, there's a security audit. It takes more time than what we've initially expected, but that is because we're adding more security features.
And considering the recent incidents in the industry, I think it's
look,
due.
Yeah, look, there will there's always like a recent always there is a recent thing about security and a hack, and I just don't want to be in that side. And obviously this is a stable coin, it's payment, it's important. We can't,
Yes,
there are no compromises around this. So if it takes a quarter or longer, it takes a quarter longer. That is it, and I'm not gonna regret this. So that's timeline and security and audits. Let's talk about Djed for a second. So Djed is an algorithmic stablecoin, but there are 3 coins that you need to understand in order to understand how this all works. There is ADA, right? ADA. In order to mint Djed or Shen, which is the reserve token, you need ADA. So ADA is the actual currency that is put as collateral, right? This is and this is to ensure that this algorithmic stablecoin always has collateral and backing, so it will not crash like some other algorithmic stablecoins that are not backed enough. So ADA is the backup. I saw that not many people realize that you need to deposit ADA in order to get Djed or Shen. Djed is the actual stablecoin. So when you'll be in the Cardano DeFi ecosystem, there will be a pair like Djed and say ADA, for instance, or Djed with something else. This is the stablecoin. This is the USDC of Ethereum and DeFi. That's Djed. In order for Djed to be stable and let's say pegged to a $1, because it's an algorithmic stablecoin, there is another token in the equation that is called Shen. Okay, Shen is not stable by definition, right? So if, for instance, Djed loses its peg, it's now 99 cents instead of $1. Right? The algorithm uses Shen to buy Djed from the market in order to raise its price to $1. If it's too high, let's say it's $1.02, it is sold and you buy Shen. Right? This is how algorithmic stablecoins work. Some algorithmic stablecoins only have the Djed Shen thing, right? But then in some cases, if the reserve coin, which is Shen, crashes, then the entire system loses its ability, like Titan, for instance. But for these purposes, we have ADA as collateral. So that's the idea. So and these are the 3 tokens.
They're also keeping a certain ratio between the Shen and the Djed in order to avoid situation with liquidity problems. So
Exactly.
that's the part of the algorithm.
Exactly. Now this is by all means not this is not a substitute to actually reading the white paper. It's not that complicated, really, and to understand how this whole thing works. But this is like the idea and why there are 3 tokens: ADA, Djed, Shen. We've also, I think Nicole and her team will also be releasing a video about this in case you don't like old people that move their hands and you want to see the video. You can have that as well. But that's the idea, and this is why this is important, and this is why this is exciting. And Djed is also like another product that will hit the ground running in terms of this development and adoption. And I think, Testa, you've been doing a lot of the work around it. Maybe you'd like to discuss where it's planned on being implemented.
Yeah, so basically when we speak about Djed in the Cardano ecosystem, our goal, our KPI here is basically DeFi Cardano ecosystem equals Djed. In order for any DeFi ecosystem in any layer 1, you need certain players in place that are necessary for the DeFi ecosystem to function. One of these are DEXs, for example. And we have already seen many DEXs already going live in Cardano, and more will come in the future. And another player, it's a stablecoin. It's when you play with DeFi, you usually play with borrowing money, lending money, and people don't want to borrow or lend or do other actions with volatile assets. They need a stablecoin to have some sort of security, and that's where Djed comes into place. Now, when it's about business development, we do understand that in order to be the go-to coin for the Cardano ecosystem, we need to have a lot of partnerships with the main players. One of them is DEXs, as I mentioned, and that's why we have already closed deals with more than 10 DEXs. Most of them are already live in the Cardano ecosystem. More others are going to be live throughout the year, and we have constantly closing new different partnerships, like providing liquidity, opening liquidity pools, pairing it with other tokens of the Cardano native tokens and ecosystem, and not only ADA, throughout all the DEXs that are going to be live. And in order to also Djed to be the go-to DeFi stablecoin in the Cardano ecosystem, you don't only need to be in DEXs, you also need to be in other DeFi protocols. Like as I mentioned, like borrowing protocols, lending, NFT marketplaces, for example, payments of some sort. So we are closing different partnerships of DeFi protocols that are not necessarily DEXs as well. And we are mentioning, I think, announcement to the community one partnership every week, every 2 weeks, and we keep doing so. We have reached a point in not only we approach protocols, but also protocols approach us because they're really interested in Djed, but not only in Djed, also in Shen. Because as Shahaf mentioned, Shen, which is a reserve coin, we need to have liquidity, or people need to buy Djed in order for the contract to have ADA as collateral in order for us to issue more Djed. And since we expect a lot of transactional volume since day one, we need to keep the balances in the right sense. So that's why we are not only closing, and this is very important, deals for Djed, but also for Shen. And we have many interesting and big protocols, OTC providers, people that are investors that are already in the blockchain and not in the blockchain community that are interested in investing also in Shen, and we're closing those deals as well. So we can ensure that from day one, we will have enough liquidity for all the liquidity that will be asked or required for Djed and both on Shen. And we're going we're doing pretty nice. My team is also doing pretty nice, and we're pretty happy and reaching all the KPIs.
Awesome.
It's and again reiterating, because some people always ask, so okay, so great, love it. What's in it for COTI? What's in it for the COTI community?
Yeah.
And we've mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning it again now. Every transaction of minting or burning, whether it's Djed or Shen, comes with a fee, not just the network fee. It comes with an issuer fee, and we are the issuer, and that fee just goes automatically to the Treasury, and that goes back to the community. And this is and obviously this is big because Djed is big. So that's
and the bigger Djed will be, the more fees collected, and the more for the Treasury and for the COTI holders.
Yep, absolutely.
And obviously, I want to mention again that we are going to have multiple assets on our Trustchain, so there's possible future and use cases that are related to COTI Pay Biz, right, and stable coins. So it's definitely worth.
So maybe in some point you can take Djed, right, from Cardano, port it to the bridge because you may support other networks, and then mint a wrapped version on the Trustchain.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting, Alex. Great. But that's Djed.
Awesome. So it sounds like 2022 is the year that COTI's network grows from one coin to multiple tokens.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add is from a marketing perspective, this year you can continue to see constant updates. We try to be as transparent as possible with the community. You can expect a lot more competitions, AMAs, and a few other surprises that you'll have to stay tuned to see. Shahaf, do you have any other closing words you'd like to add?
No, I think look at the roadmap. See how it all evolves. You need to figure out, the main things are obviously, and again, Trustchain and Multi-DAG 2.0, that leads to the ability to mint new tokens, that leads to business opportunities like COTI Pay Business version 2 and Coin as a Service. Yeah. So you can expect us to perform in that sense. There is also Djed, and everything trickles back to the Treasury that will evolve this year as well. So it's going to be a great year to have COTI. We did not mention at all the Crypto Volatility Index, CVI, in this conversation because it deserves a different video. that will and an introduction of the roadmap. Again, the crypto volatility index is going to have a very exciting year this year as well. But we'll cover that on a different video. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thanks to the community for tuning in, and remember, stay
Stay
COTI.
COTI.
Stay going.